I've done many videos about the trials and tribulations of capturing analog video and converting it to digital via USB. In comparison, capturing analog audio and digitizing it via USB is comparatively easy and was basically a solved problem 20 years ago. Unfortunately, many of the products that have been marketed for the purpose of doing so since then aren't the best quality. So what if you already have a perfectly good turntable or cassette deck or any other analog audio source and you just want to be able to connect it to your computer via USB because most computers don't have a line input jack anymore? Well, it turns out that's exactly what Ion had in mind back in 2008 when they introduced the Ion USB Computer Audio Recording Interface. Also known as the Ion U-Record, it was announced in January 2008 and had a list price of $79.99. For some reason, they could never settle on a consistent name for the product. It started out with the Mixmeister branding, which was the name of the DJ software they were trying to tie in with. Then they dropped that and just called it the Ion U-Record. And finally, they gave it a coat of black paint and the more sensible name, Ion USB Recorder. And along the way, the price was dropped to $49.99, or you could get a factory refurbished one for $39. I got mine on eBay for $10 plus shipping. The device is approximately the size of an 8-track tape. On the back, it has a set of RCA jacks and a ground terminal, and then a switch to select either a phono input or a line level input. You get your recording level control on the top, which is very convenient, much more handy than doing it through software. And on the side is a Type B USB port. According to the serial number on the bottom, this one was made in August 2009, and it's very adamant that we should keep it dry. The apparatus shall not be exposed to dripping or splashing, and that no objects filled with liquids, such as vases, shall be placed on the apparatus made in China. When you plug it in, Windows automatically loads the drivers. It also works with a Mac. But one thing you have to do when setting it up is go into the control panel under Sound and Recording, select the USB audio codec, click on Properties, then Advanced, and change it from 1 channel to 2 channel 16-bit 44,100 Hz CD quality, and click on OK. And now it will actually record your audio in stereo. The Easy Vinyl Tape Converter software is a free download from the Ion website. They have versions for Windows XP or newer and Mac OS 10.4 and newer. So here's the setup. My circa 1977 Technics by Panasonic SL1900 direct drive turntable connected to the phono input of the Ion USB recorder, connected to the USB port of this laptop computer, which is running the Ion software. My test subject will be For Your Dancing and Listening Pleasure by the Kentones. I've featured this album numerous times when I've been testing record players and turntables, and people have asked me, where can you find this album online? And the answer is, you can't. There was an unrelated vocal harmony group in the UK called the Kentones, but this album isn't by them. It's strictly instrumental, with a lot of accordion. There is a Discogs entry for the company that made this record, HMR Productions of Scotch Plains, New Jersey, but this album isn't listed. Before you start recording, you'll want to set the recording level, preferably by picking out one of the louder passages in the music, and then adjust the recording level, either using the knob on the device itself or this slider in the software here, so that the level meter gets close to but does not exceed these yellow marks. If you do that, you'll see it lights up red to indicate it is clipping. So that looks about right, and now we can start recording. When you're done recording, you can enter the artist, album title, and track titles. Sometimes if you're not quick enough to hit the button when you're done, it will add an extra track at the end, but you can just leave that blank and delete it later. And then it will be saved in the My Music folder as uncompressed CD quality WAV files. If you want to convert them into a format like MP3 or FLAC, you can use third-party software to do so. The auto track splitting feature usually works pretty well, except in this case one of the songs on the album has multiple false endings. Which erroneously caused the software to split the song into multiple files. So in that case, you can disable it, and then you can click on the New Track button to manually split tracks while you're recording. Connecting it to a cassette deck or any other line-level audio source is basically identical, except you obviously set the switch to line instead of phono, and no ground connection is required. And likewise, the Mac version of the software is basically identical to the Windows version, except no special tweak is required to get it to record in stereo. It does so automatically. And you don't have to use the software provided by Ion. It works with anything that can record audio, including one of my favorites, Sound Studio on the Mac. You just make sure you select USB audio codec as the input. And if you like the Ion Easy Vinyl Tape Converter software, you don't have to use it with an Ion product. It works with most of the USB audio devices I've tried, including this TEAC W1200 cassette deck. The metal cover easily unscrews, revealing a circuit board with a lot of electrolytic capacitors on it. The design is dated June 8, 2007. The phono stage uses a JRC 2746 op-amp chip, and the line level preamp is a JRC 2747. And finally, the analog to digital converter is a Burr Brown PCM 2900E, which is pretty much the standard for USB audio devices. I tested its frequency response using a 20 to 20,000 Hz sine wave sweep from a CD player, and it's pretty much flat from 50 Hz to 10,000 Hz. It rolls off the very low frequencies, and it does drop off a little bit at the high end, down about 4 dB at 20 kHz. And more importantly, it has very low noise and distortion. On the spectrum graph, there are no unwanted harmonics. It's a very clean signal. So no super high-end audiophile components inside this thing, but for what it cost new and how cheap you can get these today on the used market, it's an entirely respectable design.